Time for a Soccer Down Here 1v1. And for this one, we go to Cleveland. Catch up with the co-founder and CEO of the Cleveland Soccer Group, Michael Murphy, part of the U.S. Soccer Development Council, as well as MLS Next Pro, heads to Cleveland in 2025. Michael, thanks for hanging out for a 1v1.
Hey, John, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
No worries. All right. So for those that don't know, and I mean, I can sit here and go back into my stacks and find my Cleveland Force t-shirt and
Amen.
all that kind of stuff. For those that don't know the soccer footprint there in Cleveland and the roughly 24 cities that make up that whole footprint, break down the soccer community for me.
It's a large one. It's a large one with deep history, some of which is tied to professional soccer, some of which is tied to semi-pro professional soccer with our disparate and diverse ethnic groups here, whether it's the Croatians or the Germans. Years ago, used to fly over teams from those countries and play in Cleveland for a weekend. They would draw 10,000 people on a pitch. So the passion for soccer and this sport runs deep in Northeast Ohio. And yes, you alluded to the Cleveland Force. I also grew up traveling out to the Coliseum where the Cavs used to play in the Cleveland Force. And actually, it was fun. We did kind of a hype video to kind of kick off, hey, professional soccer is coming back to Cleveland. We went back and cut to a couple of clips from the Cleveland Force and then also the Cleveland Crunch, who had a very amazing success here in Cleveland. But it kind of gets you excited because it is a vision. Let's bring that back. And I think the audio on that part of the hype video was like, look at this, there's 21,000 strong here watching the Force. And, you know, we want thousands of people to come and enjoy professional soccer, the beautiful game in Cleveland again. But it's, you know, Northeast Ohio, you talk about, you know, Cleveland, Akron, Canton, you know, Youngstown, Asheville. I mean, this whole region sometimes is thought of as Northeast Ohio and sometimes very formally collaborate with business initiatives. And sometimes it just, you know, people who are around Cleveland can call themselves Clevelanders for sure, even though that's how they identify. And we've got great, you know, some great clubs here as well that have produced a lot of good players. There's a unique thing on the boys' side is St. Ignatius High School here kind of draws from some of the best players around. And Coach Mike McLaughlin, who's actually been very helpful to me in this endeavor. He was my theology teacher, believe it or not, 30 years ago. But you know, has forgotten more about soccer today than I will ever know, and has just been a great sounding board for me and helping me, you know, navigate some of the landscape. But he's been so successful. I think 12 or 13 state championships now, 7 national championships, produced a number of professional players, and has a real strong tradition going on there.
Let me take this and cut it in 2 parts. Why MLS Next Pro?
Okay. So when we started looking about bringing professional soccer to Cleveland, you know, there's a number of different leagues you can join in that crazy soccer pyramid that I became very well acquainted with about a year ago, and trying to understand what you know, and it's in my business too. It's a little alphabet soup. What's these letters versus these letters? You get through it, but at the end of the day, the diligence suggested that MLS Next Pro aligns best with my kind of long-term vision for this for next 10, 15 years. I think that league has a lot of runway. As you know, it just started this past year. But I also really have a big vision for what our club's going to be. And part of that is an international vision, trying to reach out to Cleveland's sister cities. And I can get into that. It's a really interesting take on professional soccer. But I love the fact that we're going to be able to be part of their Apple TV deal. And so all of our games will be broadcast around the world, not geo-filtered. So if you're trying to build your very special brand of Cleveland soccer and export that brand around the world, having come from a career in film distribution, I understand that you need to have a platform. And Apple is a fantastic platform. And you know, we're going to be kicking off in 25. So any kinks that they've got to work out in 23 and 24 should be perfect. So I'm coming in, I think, at the right time. And I think they're not going to have that many kinks anyways. I mean, it's a huge undertaking, obviously, to broadcast that many games in various languages. So, but I know that the league and Apple seem very much committed to this endeavor and look at it as a huge opportunity. So that's why MLS Next Pro. And look, I mean, it's a top soccer brand in this country. MLSs, and that's where we wanted to go.
And then 2025, I know that a lot of folks will sit there, they have expansion in other leagues and such, and they'll go, yeah, we're 2023. And you realize that's a real short runway and you've got a very short period of time to get a lot of things done. So why 25? Why was that the target?
I mean, you alluded to it. We want to get it done and done right and build it the right way. There's going to be other teams. There's been some other independent teams that have announced MLS Next Pro. We anticipate that those will continue to announce over the next couple of years, and that number will probably grow. I think they've said, publicly, anywhere from 10 to 20 additional independent teams outside of your second teams, your Columbus Crew 2s, or in addition to those. But it just to do it right and to do it the right way, to build a team. It was 25, and also ultimately we want to have a soccer specific stadium facility here, and one does not exist. It is an aggressive timeline to get it done by 25, but it's doable, and we're working with stakeholders now to kind of work through that. You always have to have a contingency plan for where you could play if you couldn't get it up and running, but the goal was to go into our own facility in 25 and kick off in a brand new soccer specific or soccer first stadium.
When you're looking at venue size, I know that in Major League Soccer these days, I think if you're setting up in the low 20s, you're probably underselling what you should be doing when it comes to building a soccer only facility. I think if in Major League Soccer, you should be looking at 30 and beyond for soccer specific. What about the idea for MLS Next Pro? Because I know at the same time, you're going to want that venue to be viable all year round. You won't just want it to be, oh, okay, we've got, 15 home matches, 17 home matches, and then the thing's done. You're looking for viability in a bunch of different aspects, whether it's live, work, play that we're seeing in lower divisions. When you're looking at the venue size and location, what are you looking for when you're trying to get something like this done that is the undertaking that it is?
I can speak to it broadly. Some of it, we have some studies out there that will also inform what the right size is for a feasibility study. And I should mention, John, our vision has always been men's and women's professional soccer. And we think that Cleveland is a fantastic market, as does the league, the NWSL. They would love to be in Cleveland, and so we're having conversations with them. So this would be probably a shared facility where they would be the primary tenant, the women's NWSL with MLS Next Pro, a secondary tenant, and everyone's comfortable with that kind of scenario. But you're talking about something that's very low teens, I think, to start, or at least 10,000 seats and on up, and you're looking at historical trends for attendance. But in MLS Next Pro, you don't have a lot of history. You've got 1 year, and they launched it, and it was brand new, and so you're trying to kind of predict where that's going. But we think that we want to build to accommodate where we're going to go.
When you're looking at to-do lists and things like that, I know that as someone who believes, that's it, film and distribution, and knowing that you have to have things done a certain way for the most set of eyes to sit there and view your product. I know that somewhere there is a to-do list for you. And I know that we talked about 2025 as your launch date and things like that. Now that everything is out there in the open, it could be, on your phone, you pull the stylus out from underneath, you sit there and you write a note, you sit there and jam the stylus back in your phone, you put it away. Could be on one of those magnet attracted whiteboards that, 2:30 in the morning, you sit there and it's like, oh, I got to get some water. Oh, I've got an idea. You write it down on the fridge, and then you sit there and you put the marker back away, then you go back to bed. Or as we're looking at each other there in your office, either off to your left or your right, there's got to be one of those 4 by 6 foot long whiteboards. It's got a bunch of ideas and arrows and monitors, and sit there and things crossed off. Where are your to-do lists? And what do you think the next thing that you can cross off that to-do list is as you continue to build toward 25?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because, not that I was naive, but I think that you could spend all day long on to-do lists, and they just get deeper and deeper and deeper. And there's so much that goes into starting and launching professional soccer, from facilities on the stadium side to facilities on the practice side to the mini pitches that we want to put in that will, be part of our community, the foundation, to considering, a much larger, soccer complex for Northeast Ohio, which is kind of missing right now. And so each one of those items has its own branches. But, I think as we move forward, we will be intentional about continuing to listen to the Northeast Ohio community about soccer. And, when we launched, we had a basic website and took a lot of feedback. And it's incredible, the amount of people that want to be involved and have ideas. And I know some of those folks will organically go off and form their own supporters group, and that's fantastic. And we want to meet with them and say we encourage that. We have a whole branding to go through. What is this team name? What are the colors? What is the crest? What are our core values? All of those things that we're going to try to kick off in a very disciplined, but methodical and also but aggressive. We want to get rolling on these things, and part of that is adding to my team from a staffing point. And so you kind of say, okay, kick off in March of 25. When do I need a head coach in place? When do I need a team president in place? Will I continue to be that role of team president? These are still things I'm figuring out along the way as to all the different things. So it's a long way of saying there are many things to do. I'm aware of them. Thankfully, I'm not doing this alone. And we've got a great gentleman, Forrest Eber, is on my team. He's been consulting with me. He helped launch Orlando City. I know he was early days with Louisville. He was early days with San Diego. And so he has seen this show before and kind of say, you want to be thinking about this, or you want to be thinking about that. So we're having a lot of conversations and have had a lot of conversations. And now it's going to be, okay, what is the immediate next priority? And we'll, focus on those.
Do you feel, I don't want to use the word pressure, but I guess the responsibility of being this kind of flag bearer for this entire region of Northeast Ohio? Are you sensing the responsibility of getting something done and doing it right?
Yes. People want this badly. The opportunity is here. There's a lot of white space, and there's an opportunity to be the North Star of soccer for this region and to do it right. And to have the 10, 15-year long-term vision. I think, but what did Billie Jean King say? That pressure is a privilege. And I'm ready. Let's go. I just finished up an incredible career, really, in film distribution. Soccer was not on my radar 2 years ago, but something very meaty in Cleveland, something that allows us to embrace a lot of the natural advantages that our region has, whether it's the ethnic communities that we have here, whether it's the old school, like I mentioned. I went and watched Croatia, Argentina in the semifinal, like at a bar out in Willoughby, Ohio, which is near East Lake. And it's a big, I think, Slovenes and Croatian community out there, probably 500 Croatians out there with the red and white jerseys on. And I'm just going, wow. Now, if I can be smart about this, and I can reach out to that community, and we already started to have, and say, let's be intentional about bringing young talent, maybe from Croatia, to train in Cleveland. Wouldn't that be an interesting idea to help not only put us butts in seats that we have fans, but to create a long-term pipeline of talent, whether it's with that community or whether it's the Salvadorian community in Cleveland or the Guatemalan community or the different African communities. Those are all different pipelines, I think, to bringing really interesting talent here. And on the flip side, I mentioned, before about these sister cities. I don't know if, Johnny, you're familiar with this concept of sister cities, but they started under President Eisenhower after World War II. And the idea was kind of citizen diplomacy. And a lot of cities did it around the country, and they have lots of sister cities. And if you go onto Wikipedia pages, you can look and see all the sister cities that Cleveland has in other cities. But for the most part, and I'm not going to say there haven't been efforts, it's been ceremonial only, in name only. And I've done a further deeper dive, and I said, let's look at these sister cities that for which Cleveland include, Taipei, Taiwan, Bangalore, India, Lima, Peru. there are 96 professional soccer clubs in these 23 cities, 8 of which are women's. And imagine now starting to reach out over time and saying, hey, let's do a round robin in 2028, or let's do a home and away friendly. And let's start to build some real ties through the language that is soccer, because it's universally understood, it's appreciated, and it's something that's tangible that can allow Cleveland and Clevelanders to build deeper ties. Start with soccer. We know the game's growing. That's the other thing that I'm so excited about. It's like we do have this incredible opportunity, but like we got to make sure that we're doing it right and thinking about all the things on the to-do list, because the World Cup's coming here in 2026. And I just came back from Qatar. I was there for 7 days, and I was like, wow, this is going to be something else. And if we look at, I think the number of fans the increase between 90 and 94, and you take this and extrapolate that out and look at the next 4 years, the numbers that we've seen are like, it's a net gain of 35 million soccer fans in this country. And how are we and our brand of professional soccer in Cleveland going to make sure that we've got something for those fans? So I think you told me filibusters were okay. I just went on a filibuster, and I forget the exact question, but I think it was a kind of a why were you excited, or do you feel the pressure? And it's like, yeah, but it's all right. It's a huge opportunity. Let's go.
You said it wasn't on your radar 2 years ago. What triggered it?
We were talking. Some guys were talking about bringing professional soccer here, and at first I was looking at kind of like a real estate play a little bit, and that was interesting to me. But the more I looked at this game, the more I realized that this is the opportunity. This could be transformational for the region. When you have a world of 8 billion people and 5 billion people just watch the World Cup, and Cleveland right now doesn't have a seat at the table in that global game. We really don't. I mean, there's some efforts here right now of professional soccer, but I still feel like there's an opportunity for the North Star to come in, to have a seat at that table, to have a chip at that table, however you want to describe that. And it's super exciting, and and people can rally around it. We've had incredible support from both private and public sectors. We've got some great Fortune 500 companies in Cleveland that had some preliminary conversations with them about partnership and sponsorship and kit, front of the kit, and it's really cool. And so everyone's ready to go, and it's just a matter of every day waking up and focusing on those critical milestones that you have to get done in order to be ready to kick off and feel really good about things in 25. We looked at 24, and the advice that I got candidly was like, if you can wait a year, wait, because 24 is going to come really, really quickly. And that's what we did.
Have you always thought of yourself as a builder when it comes to businesses and things like that? Or was this just something that seemed almost too irresistible to do?
Yes, we were a builder for sure. My business partner, Nolan, and I totally bootstrapped Gravitas Ventures. He had a poker table. Literally, when I moved out to LA, we were working from his kitchen, and it was 100% bootstrapped. And ultimately, we did it our way. Ultimately, moved entire film distribution company from Hollywood to Cleveland, Ohio, where I am now, because we wanted to be part of the Cleveland business fabric, the Cleveland business community. This is where we're from. We're Clevelanders, and so those feelings and those emotions, run deep. And it was something that I wanted to do that was going to be meaty and kind of like a third chapter of life or so. I'm 45 years old, and given my background and how we were able to build and sell a company twice, I learned a lot. And so my business confidence, kind of went up. I said, even though I don't know everything about soccer, and I do not, I know what I don't know, and I know where to kind of fill in those blind spots a little bit. But what we've done and built, I think, is going to serve us well, especially in being able to go for things.
All right, so time to cut the promo for me. I know that in films you always have the trailer. You want to try to draw folks into what's going to be shown on screen, however it gets distributed. So you're cutting the trailer for me. For those that want to keep an eye on what's going on with Cleveland Soccer Group, how do they do it?
I've got the trailer for you. We already cut it. You got to go to our website. But right now we're at clevelandprosoccer.com, and we're out on social media. We're taking all kinds of feedback. There's ways on the site to get involved. And you can click through. There's some broad ideas as to what your involvement you want it to be. We're dissecting those. We're going to go back out to the community and say, hey, we're having a town hall, or hey, it might be virtual, it might be live. And I think it's probably going to be both, to be honest. And we'll have a couple of them. And there may be some committees that form. Because again, it takes a lot of people, but there's a lot of energy here, and I want to make sure that we're harnessing that energy and actually giving people, meaty roles.
Michael Murphy, co-founder and CEO of the Cleveland Soccer Group, heading to MLS Next Pro in 2025. If you ever, and I will post this out here right now, you ever want to break any news, you know where you can come. We will always be more than happy to break news for you. So thanks for hanging out with us for a Soccer Down Here 1v1. We'll be keeping an eye as you continue to grow in a top 20 media market in one of the hotbeds for soccer up there in Northeast Ohio. Michael, thanks for hanging out with us for a 1v1. We'll be keeping an eye on you.
You bet. Thanks, John.